they're going to go boot to the right. He's got nobody. He's going to keep it to the 5. He's got a first down, dive into the pylon. Touchdown! Touchdown for Dak Prescott.
Those calls courtesy of 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, Texas. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Dallas Cowboys beat the Philadelphia Eagles 37-10 on Sunday Night Football. And Dak Prescott smoked the debate about who's better between Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz. And that brings us to the Accountability Bowl, where, for quite honestly at this point, it's been something approaching years. I have been telling you definitively that Dak Prescott is better than Carson Wentz. That has been met, of course, you know, because many of you have been part of this mob with jeers and laughter. You're silly, Will. You're undercutting your credibility. You're a homer, Will. If you asked all the GMs in the league, all 32 of them, including Stephen Jones, they'd take Carson Wentz over Dak Prescott. They would mock me. They would tell me I'm seeing through blue and silver lenses. They would tell me quite simply that I was wrong. But popularity and righteousness, my friend, do not go hand in hand. In fact, I would suggest most times in life, they go in inverse correlation. No. It isn't close. You're correct. It isn't even a competition. It's barely a debate anymore. Dak Prescott is better than Carson Wentz. And if you don't see it yet, I don't think you'll ever see. If I haven't cured you of your blindness to this point, I'm afraid you must live in darkness. One can lead a horse to water, but he cannot make them drink. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. The Accountability Bowl is today, and that is where we take account. Had it gone the other way, well, we'll never know. I might have sat in here today and taken account. Unfortunately, that's not the way it goes. So, who has spent so much time? Which of my friends have told me in so many words? It's Wentz over Dak. Let's start with a man that I respect and who gets more right than wrong. Just not this time. How about ESPN's NFL front office insider who said on Friday that Wentz was better than Dak? It's Louis Riddick.
I'm taking Wentz. I've been someone who's been a big supporter of his and someone who really believes in what he has both mentally and physically as far as makeup is concerned.
He's always been a big supporter. That's true. I believe Lou said this would be an MVP season for Wentz. Who's number one in QBR at this point? Oh, that's right. It's Dak Prescott. Lou, I'm sorry. It's a rare L for you on this one, pal. How about my new friend, Chris Mortensen, the ESPN NFL insider who called the Will Cain Show on Friday? Nuno, Mike A, Bubba. What did Mort say when he called the show on Friday?
Enough of this conversation.
Enough, said Mort. Mort, I'm sorry to tell you, I'm just getting started. It's Dak over Wentz, Mort. Add your name to the list. How about fellow Texas Longhorn Emmanuel Acho? What do you have on this, Acho? As recently as Friday.
Dak Prescott is like your good old Toyota 4Runner. He's steady. You know what you can get from him. He's reliable. Carson Wentz is like that exotic car. Now, that exotic car is going to break down, Greeny. We all know that. But one day you're going to get into a high-speed chase, and you're going to be real mad if you're sitting in a 4Runner.
Manny, high-speed chase? Might I suggest 37-10 is a good time to hit the gas. Might shove it into fifth gear, Manny. What happened? Oh, it was 7 points on 2 personal fouls by the Cowboys. And it was a beautiful pass, Carson. It was a beautiful pass to the tight end. It just came up 27 points short. Emmanuel, I'm sorry. I need a blue box to give you a check. Manny, add him to the list. How about my good friend Damian Woody? He wouldn't do that. I think didn't Damian Woody pick the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl? Woody! Damian! You didn't do it to me, did you? Let me hear it.
Oh, I'm going Carson Wentz. And I think everyone's going to knock Carson because we always talk about the best abilities, availability. I get that. The one thing about Carson Wentz, he can elevate his team. That's what you miss from Dak Prescott.
Elevate his team, said Damian. Elevate his team. Damian, do you realize, does anybody realize that Dak Prescott's record against Carson Wentz is 4-2? Dak Prescott's record against NFC East is 7-2. What are we looking at here? See, that's the big mystery in the end. What are we looking at? I'm seriously starting to think, Am I taking crazy pills here? Does everybody need a red pill? Are we all living in blue pill world and I'm the only one that's taking the red pill? How is it that I see and nobody else sees? And I'm not the only one that wonders this, right? Hell, I think Golic and Wingo spends their whole time thinking about me. I think they wonder what I'm wondering. I think they're wondering what I'm wondering about what I'm wondering I'm seeing. Right, Junior?
I don't understand how Will sees what everyone else, if he sees apparently what everyone else fails to see. Carson Wentz, the things he does and elevates in that offense, better quarterback.
Oh my gosh. You know what, Junior? I don't know what Will sees either. Other than the truth. Hell, you wonder why I get the monopoly on the truth? I give you Dak Prescott versus Carson Wentz. Just stack up the truth. I got it mounted this high on my table. Because nobody else likes to eat from the truth buffet. Just me. And I'm getting fat on truth, Junior. And yet, I find myself amidst this glee, amidst this gluttony of honesty and authenticity and truth, amidst this moment feeling like I can't save them, Lord. What can I do? I have sermonized, I've preached, I've made myself unlikable. Popularity was never the gain, it was to bring the word, right? It was to bring the truth. What can I do? I've given them stats. I've told them about QBR. I've told them about wins and losses. Dear Lord, I think that I have almost sacrificed myself at this subject. People question my homerism. They question my ability to see the truth. They question my authenticity. They think I'm a contrarian. I wonder if this is one I will ultimately lose, because if it isn't 4-2 against Carson Wentz, if it isn't stats, if it isn't head-to-head, and if it isn't the day after when Dak Prescott smokes Carson Wentz, and I hear this from my buddy, my friend, there's one more name up there. There's one more name that's missing. One more that's so much film does he watch. So much depth. Hell, he played in the NFL. He played quarterback. He ran out of the back of the end zone once, but that won't stop him from seeing the truth. This man, he knows. This man, he's not blind. If there's one I can save, Lord, I'm sure. On the day after a Dak smoking, a Cowboy victory, I'm sure when the light is seen, Dan Orlovsky can be saved. Right? Here he is on Get Up this morning.
I would argue he had more really good individual plays than Dak did. Now, Dak probably operated his offense cleaner and more efficiently, and certainly in situational football. But, I mean, that pick is late in the game. The fumble's not on him. The drops, their secondary stinks. Their wide receivers have no juice to get downfield. So, listen, we could pound on Carson Wentz all we want. It is not Carson Wentz in Philadelphia right now.
Dan would argue that Carson had better moments than Dak. Dan would argue that Carson made prettier throws. Dan would argue that Carson was better than Dak. Forgive them, Lord. They know not what they do. They cannot be saved. Not facts, not stats, not wins and losses, not truth. Nothing at this point will bring them to the light. I'm going to have to take my friends and put them with the people in the ESPN radio department blinded by the green. I'm going to have to put them with Pat, Cliff, Mike, you, Patrick, and Brian. I'm going to have to let them go. Because Dak Prescott is better than Carson Wentz. And thus concludes the sermon and the accountability bowl. Let's talk about other quarterbacks and other teams. I need to be toweled off. Next on the Will Cain Show. You know, we're all just fun in here. I'm having a good time with my buddies here at ESPN who've doubted Dak, and with you. But don't wake up today and read the box score. Don't give me that junk. It wasn't close. It wasn't close between the two teams, and it wasn't close between the two quarterbacks. If you do that, you don't know football. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. But I am objectively interested in what happened to Carson Wentz. See, we have to have a conversation because although I have this debate, Dak versus Carson, what you should come away with that is how highly I think of Dak, not how lowly I think of Carson Wentz. I think Wentz is a damn good quarterback. But I don't think it's being put together yet. There's flashes, there's moments when he gets out of the pocket, he makes a nice throw, and then in the pocket he misses. I can't figure it out. I truly cannot. I think that Carson Wentz at this point is a conundrum. To help figure that out, let me ask a guy who analyzes tape, looks at all of these guys. It's NFL analyst and reporter, free agent. Somebody needs to swoop this guy up. It's Andy Benoit on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. What's up, Andy?
Hey, Will, how's it going?
I'm good, man. Actually, let me amend that. I'm really good today, Andy. I'm doing really well, thank you. Andy,
I figured you would be.
I just am. I am. Andy's on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. New Shell V-Powered Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline, now with 4 levels of defense against gunk wear, corrosion, and friction. I asked this, man. Look, this is my assessment. I think I'm being cool-headed about this. Carson Wentz is good, and he's going to be really good, but I just don't think he's put it all together yet. It's not clicking. And look, I know he was missing some things, but so was Dak a week ago, and everybody's like, well, that's when you're supposed to elevate yourself, you know? And then we don't do it. Carson gets excuses, everybody else gets tests. But my point is, why hasn't Carson come to – I don't think you would even think or anybody would say he's fulfilled his full potential. And I can't figure out what's missing right now for Carson Wentz.
Well, I think looking at – so let's understand the situation around him, not from the standpoint of making that excuse for him, but from the standpoint of understanding – what's demanded of him right now. The Eagles have no speed whatsoever on offense, so they really don't have any way to regulate safeties, which means defenses, they can do whatever they want against Philadelphia, and it's going to be Wentz's job to read and to react to that. You're basically in a reactionary position in the Eagles' passing game right now. Nothing's downfield. Nothing threatens at even the intermediate levels. There's no consistency in that regard. So that's one, and that's a big deal for a quarterback. That makes it hard on him. The other thing is they've had some issues on the offensive line, which we wondered about going into this season. Most recently, it's Jason Peters out injured at left tackle. I didn't think Lane Johnson was quite his usual high-level self last night, but the last time Wentz struggled, and really I would say the only time there where he notably struggled at a long duration in his career was very early in his career when Lane Johnson was out, and Wentz was very aware that his pass protection on the right side of the O-line was not what it normally is, and I think it affected the way he played. Well, now he's got that issue a little bit on the left side because Andre Dillard, their first-round tackle, he doesn't quite look ready to play. He's a very talented. His feet are excellent. The bull rush has been an issue. It was especially a big issue against Minnesota. And you have to remember, it's not just that a tackle gives up that pressure. It's that the quarterback becomes aware of that. And that can impact the way the quarterback plays. So between those two things and then Philadelphia's defense not being what it was a couple of years ago, now the Eagles are playing from behind more. I think the circumstances surrounding Wentz have been a lot more complicated this year.
I hear you on that. I do. And look, I think Dak had all those same problems a year or two ago, right? Before they got Amari Cooper, they had no talent at wide receiver to threaten safeties, threaten deep. He always had trouble when Tyron Smith was out. I hear all that, and it's legitimate. I still think there's something not clicking in Philadelphia, either in the locker room or on the field with Carson Wentz and his team, and I don't know what it is, but I'm going to be talking about it a little bit later here on the Will Cain Show. Andy Benoit here. Was this just a get-right game? Is it the Atlanta Falcons, or is Jared Goff and the Rams got things back together on the right track?
Well, it might be a little bit of all the above. The Falcons, it's unusual to see a team. I think they've been well coached and well schemed for a long time now. And for whatever reason, and I don't even know if they would be able to tell you, but they're having a lot of communication breakdowns in their base coverages this year. Guys not on the same page, guys not playing up to their usual speed. And the Rams came in knowing what they're going to get from the Falcons, because the Falcons, they don't surprise you. They just try to out-execute you. And so it was a good opportunity for the Rams to get back on track. And Jared Goff will, when he's at his best, it's when he's operating right on schedule within the design of the play. Mm-hmm. And he was doing that a little bit in previous weeks, but not with the same consistency that he's capable of. So I'm sure the Rams feel really good about their situation now. Not that they look at it like this either, but they have a chance. Now they're going to go face the Bengals, a team that they really understand, because the Bengals run their same system offensively, and defensively the Bengals are somewhat predictable and have had some liabilities this year. So it's a good opportunity. The Rams will be right on track mid-season here.
All right, let me talk to you about two quarterbacks, okay? I want to talk to you about Kirk Cousins and Lamar Jackson. These are two quarterbacks who are playing well in different ways. Two quarterbacks that are winning for their team in different ways. Lamar Jackson wasn't great, 9 for 20 in the passing game, but man, he is exciting with his legs. He's a game changer, quite clearly, and he beat Russell Wilson and the Seahawks yesterday. He did, several times, on crucial downs, including fourth down. Meanwhile, Kirk Cousins is, I believe now, leading the league in completion percentage and passer rating. And these are two quarterbacks that at various times I know I have doubted. Here's where I am, Andy. I think they're really good quarterbacks, but I don't think we'll really see the limitations, the ceiling on these guys until it matters, until the playoffs. And then we'll remember, Lamar still has trouble in the passing game, and that's going to be a problem. And Kirk still shrinks or panics in pressure, and that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the premise, certainly. And I do think that you have to be a consistent thrower to be a consistent high-level QB in the NFL, no matter how dynamic a playmaker you are. And the jury's still out on Jackson in that regard. He looked tremendous early in the season. I think he cooled off a little bit a couple weeks ago. And it's nice that the Ravens have been able to win through all of this, but they need to keep pushing their offense to build a consistent passing game around Lamar and giving him defined reads on first and second down, which they've been great at doing with some of their deeper shot passes, especially with the tight end position. That's a good way to help the quarterback and allow him to find himself as a passer. So they're on a good path overall. And that idea of first down passing, well, that's a big part of what's helping Kirk Cousins right now.
Right.
The Vikings are a run-first team. They put base personnel on the field as much, if not more, than any team in the NFL. Maybe the Niners have more, but it's two backs or two tight ends out there, and they're going to run the ball. When you do that, you get predictable defensive looks, and there's a chance to take shots downfield, and lately they've had some success with that.
All right. It's Andy Benoit, NFL analyst and reporter, free agent. Go swoop him up. It's not just accurate insight and analysis. It's unique. It's different. And someone needs to grab up Andy Benoit. I'll keep using him here because that's the kind of stuff we do on the Will Cain Show. Interesting, unique insight. Thank you, Andy, as always.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate you.
All right, man. All right. Listen, anytime we're putting together best coaches in the NFL, a conversation, a list, whatever it may be, you know one of them's coaching tonight. You know Bill Belichick is the GOAT. But I got two names that showed us this weekend exactly that they belong. One's not a surprise. But one does not get mentioned near enough. If Belichick's the model, and it's about adaptability, these two guys have shown the ability to adapt to circumstances better than anyone else. I'll tell you who it is next on the Will Cain Show. You know, watching games this weekend, you'll always be reminded. I always love a good scheme. I love a play. I love creativity. I love players being put in the right situation, the best situation to win. But I think short term, we get a little in love with scheme. We get in love with Sean McVay. We get in love with Kellen Moore's new plays. We get in love with whatever the hot new thing might be. But long term, it's always about leadership. Long term, it's always about adaptability. Long term, the model has to be Bill Belichick. It's the Will Cain Show on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Again, watching games this weekend, what I think we saw from two different coaches was adaptability at the highest of levels, and two guys whose names are in the tops among NFL coaches. One, you're used to hearing. The other needs to be talked about a lot more. That's coming up in just a moment here on the Will Cain Show, but it's the Accountability Bowl. It's time for accountability. Ryan in North Carolina, you're on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. What's up, Ryan?
Will, why are we so happy today, man?
What are you talking about?
I mean, we're getting all happy over what the Cowboys are doing when they're going to be 3-3 within the next 6 weeks of playing.
Well, I don't understand. You mean then over the next 6 weeks they'll be 3-3? Because you can't go backwards. You know they're 4-3 now.
Oh yeah. I mean, okay, you guys are going to beat up on the Giants. I give you that. I mean, it looks like Kirk Cousins is Captain Kirk right now. I mean, I think they're going to just slaughter you guys. Detroit, I mean, they beat themselves, but I think Detroit will win that. Forget about the Patriots, okay? You guys are going to have a tough time with the Bills. I mean, that's a tough schedule, man. I don't see it happening.
Ryan, I got to tell you guys something, man. I mean, you... my other fellow listeners out there, my fellow analysts, you guys, I'm going to tell you something, okay, Ryan? I want to tell you something. No, this is a compliment. You are an absolute genius. You are a time-traveling man. You are, I can't tell you how impressed I am with your ability to pivot. Whether or not it takes you going into the past or traveling into the future, projecting out the next 6 games for the Cowboys, or falling back on draft stock. You guys got the market cornered on the ways in which you can pivot to try to win a game, win an argument, win anything against Will and his listeners who have seen the light. And they're out there, by the way. You think this is Will by himself. Oh, no. No. There's a militia that has already formed. And I know out there, you're listening. I know you have to deal with this stuff like I do. You got to deal with the Ryans of the world. 1 minute it's Carson is a number 2 pick and Dak's a 4th rounder. And the next is he's a game manager. And the next is Jason Garrett's no good, which you're right on that one. And then the next is they're mediocre and it's an average team and the Eagles secondary is terrible and it's excuses and it's past performance, which doesn't go on your side, not stats, not wins, losses, or it's now the future. It's hypotheticals. It's impressive, Ryan. I appreciate it. Let's It's impressive.
Let's break this down, though. Okay.
Hey, all right.
In all honesty, the only chance the Cowboys have, if they make the playoffs this year, is if they play Seattle, because they just have no talent around Russell Wilson, okay? DK Metcalf has hands like a snake, okay? And if Kyle Allen chokes for once, because, the guy looks like the savior for the Panthers. Other than that, you're not beating porn star Jimmy. You're not beating Matt. You might beat Matt Stafford, okay? I give you that if they make the playoffs. You're not beating Rodgers. And we saw what the Rams did to you guys last year. And forget about if Drew Brees comes back even 80%. You're not beating them.
Ryan. It's early, but you're going to have a Merry Christmas. I appreciate the call, by the way, Ryan. Thank you. If ifs and buts and ands were candy and nuts, every day would be a Merry Christmas. You've got your hypotheticals, your future projections, your ifs, ands, and buts. You have got your excuses, but you don't have reality. And you don't have Dak Prescott. One more.
If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas.
One more. Let's go to Troy in Iowa. What's up, Troy?
Well, can we go back 1 week ago from today?
Yes.
Let's look at how you were moping around.
Yes.
The world was falling apart on you after you lost to the lonely Jets. And now you're sitting at top of the world thinking the Cowboys, from the way you sound, are the best in the NFC.
Yeah, no. Yeah, okay, go ahead, then I'll destroy you. Go ahead and finish your point, Troy.
No. So my question to you is, how do you really go from such a low to a high, and you're going to go back to your lows once they actually play somebody good, because they haven't beat a team this year yet with a winning record?
What are you criticizing me for, Troy? You're criticizing for not having a flat affect, for having no emotions, for coming on the radio here and not just being one solid, boring take to you? You're criticizing me for feeling, Troy? What are you talking about? I don't understand you, Troy. Go off into your world of gray. I live in black and white, colorful. Not black and white, maybe full of colors. Who knows? I just don't live in your monotonous toned world. All right, Troy? Thank you for the call. By the way, Troy also gave us Exhibit D of yet another way in which to try to win an argument with Will, and that would be make things up he didn't say. Didn't say anything about winning the NFC last week or whenever it was he said. I felt the Jets lost. I still deal with it. Look at this. Can you get this shot? I'm over here going on about my accountability bowl, and the people around me here at ESPN, if you're listening on radio, you can't see this, but it's on ESPN News. They wrote on a paper towel, what about Sam, go Jets? I'm doing Carson and Dak, and then I got names on the board, on the accountability board. I got Morton, Lou, and Woody, and Acho, and Gold Jr., of course, Dan Orlovsky. And they're out here writing on paper towels about Sam Darnold.
Hey, you guys are fighting for second. I get it. That's ridiculous.
Tell you something. This place, everything you think about ESPN is true. The Will Cain Show's listener line is brought to you by mycomputercareer.edu. Training for a better life. Listen, Bill Belichick is obviously not just the best coach in the NFL, he's the greatest coach of all time. And we ask ourselves why. Yeah, he's a great defensive mind. He's a great GM. He's cold-blooded. He doesn't overpay. And he's got the greatest quarterback of all time. But if you said one characteristic, one trait that makes Belichick the best coach, it's adaptability. Lose a player, find a new player to focus on. Other teams, best player is Tyreek Hill, adjust, take it away. Don't let them do their best thing. Adapt, adjust, change. Constantly morph. Not stayed, not consistent. Not like Troy in Iowa asks me to be. Changing, living, breathing, versatile. This past weekend in the NFL, I think we saw two coaches exhibit that trait at the highest of levels. I'm going to give you one name because you're used to hearing it. But Sean Payton. The New Orleans Saints beat the Chicago Bears in one of the NFL's top defenses without not just Drew Brees, but without Alvin Kamara. Essentially, 2 of his top 3 players along with Michael Thomas. And he's winning. In fact, he's 5-0 with Teddy Bridgewater. Credit to Teddy Bridgewater, obviously. But credit to Sean Payton as well. That's adjustments. That's adaptability. That's finding new ways to win. But Sean Payton's name is constantly listed among the greats. What about another coach who's not? Who's showing adjustment, adaptability at the highest levels? His name, next.
Thank you for listening to the Will Cain Podcast. You can listen to the Will Cain Show live weekdays at 3 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. The Will Cain Podcast.